Hello and welcome to the Philippines. Living in the Philippines. When will they drop the vax rules? Something that's happening around the world. Denmark, Netherlands, UK, other nations are getting on board. There's talk in the Philippines about treating this present crisis as endemic, meaning treat it like the flu every year. Just deal with it. Try to protect the vulnerable. And in this video, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the evolution of life over the past, a little bit about what life is like here at the present time, when different parts of the Philippines, every 2 weeks or more often, they change the risk levels here in the Philippines, and they've called them different things over time. And at the present time, it's level 1, 2, 3, and 4, I believe. I don't think there's a 5. Manila area, the NCR, National Capital Region, encompasses several cities in the Manila metro area. Had bounced back up to a 3, and now they're back to a 2 level. And Cebu City area is still level 3. With some, reality, what the rules are, what reality is on the street are often two different things around the world. And the mayor of Cebu City, for instance, made the statement, everybody should stay in, don't go out unless you're working, you've got a medical emergency, or you're out for essential goods, like food. And reality is, people just aren't going to. I'm sorry, businesses, people can't live their life changing the rules every week or 2 weeks or even month. They're tired of it, and basically they're going on with their life. We took a negotiated a hobble ride from Mactan Island, Lapu-Lapu. I had taken some construction material over to my partner's family. I had a little bit of marine grade plywood, not a lot, but a little. I had some fasteners, and I brought a saw over for them, electric saw, to use. Their house was damaged somewhat in Typhoon Odette, a month and a half ago, super typhoon. And there is a lack of materials in town, as one would guess and predict, is when all of a sudden you have a huge storm come through an area, and it hit much of the central section of the Philippines, many islands, quite devastated. Still people without electricity. I think in Vico area, the Cebu City area that Vico handles, I think they're about 15% still don't have electricity. A month and a half later, I still don't have Sky Cable internet service, and many people with PLDT do have that service. Many people still don't have their service, but I believe that Sky Cable probably doesn't have the infrastructure in their company. They don't have the people, they don't have the proper equipment to repair, to reach out and fix those items. So at this point in time, I would not recommend that service, I guess. But anyway, so there's a lack, tens of thousands of people going to the building supply centers trying to buy materials to fix their houses. And they're lacking. Long lines. There are scrap collectors, junk collectors that were out and about for a week or two after the storm, collecting corrugated metal, whatever they could find, and reselling it to those people who need it. I've been asked a number of questions in the comments section, and would like to get some of you who know more than I do about this to answer those questions in the comment section. I've been asked, can you travel if you get to the Philippines? Can you travel in the Philippines? And well, yes and no is the answer as far as I know. There are areas and regions, each LGU, local government unit, be it a village, a barangay, a town, city, province, can set up their own rules, even though the federal government, different agencies come up with their various guidelines, their rules. Each local government unit can have their own rules. So I believe Bohol still requires PCR test before you arrive. I believe Boracay, a very popular beach area, I believe they still require PCR test before you arrive. All of this stuff can change on a weekly or bi-weekly or monthly basis, so it's just really impossible to keep track of that information. Anyway, these hobble drivers, motorbike taxis, I just read an article today that Congress has passed a law. It hasn't been signed into effect yet, but they passed a law making these legal. And here a couple of years ago, 2.5 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, the Supreme Court came out. Somebody brought up the issue, and they said, well, our Constitution does not allow two-wheeled vehicles as transportation, paid transportation. So they shut all the hobbles down for quite a number of months. Then they allowed a couple companies. I think Ancus was one company. Joyride might be another one, maybe a third. Allowed those on a test run basis, trial basis, and they had to train their drivers, give them defensive driving course. They had to provide some minimal type of insurance, which is a good idea. And they had to have a barrier between the driver and the passenger. Now, in reality, all the engineering groups came out and said that's not a good idea. It's probably dangerous and probably does not stop the flow of virus or air. If you understand how wind swirls around a barrel, swirls around the back of that, probably actually even causes more germs, quote unquote, germs, virus, to swirl around and into the face of the passenger, if you understand anything about those airflow. And my opinion anyway, and the opinion of many engineers. Anyway, as I was saying, reality is often quite distant from the laws and rules people make in their ivory towers in the various nations around the world. Fact of the matter, millions of people depend upon this transport for income, and millions of them depend upon it for transportation around the Philippines. So the fact of the matter, within a couple of weeks, even less than that probably, the hobbles started coming back out on the streets, and for a while they were saying, oh, they can, if they operate, they can only take a passenger who is part of that household, only if you're married. And so how do you prove that, you know? Creating more problems for the people who are out there trying to enforce. I think most law enforcement didn't try to enforce those kind of things. They know, they understand. The people on the street, the law enforcement people, the traffic enforcers on the street, most of them understand. Their Filipino family members need to make money by this way, and they need to transport by this way. There are not enough jeepneys. They're full during peak periods. So this is another mode of transportation. Anyway, we were quoted 150 pesos to take us back to the uptown area of Cebu City from Mactan, Lapu-Lapu City. And that's fair. Now, a taxi that we took over was, I think, 250 pesos. So this is going to be 300 because we're hiring two different hobble drivers, 150 apiece. But I can take a good video on the back of a motorbike, and I can't get that inside of a taxi. That's why I wanted to take a motorbike. And I ended up paying him 200. It was a good ride, and my driver was quite a conversationalist. As a matter of fact, we chatted a bit. Good guys, safe drivers. I think this might be UC Medical Center, I believe. And then Chunghwa Hospital Mandawi is just behind it. over on another main street. Now, all these requirements and restrictions around the Philippines have been evolving for 22 plus months now. And originally they came up with the quarantine pass. And every household was supposed to get a quarantine pass. You had to show that to get into a mall, to get into a taxi. They had checkpoints around. You had to show it to the security guys if they stopped your taxi. And that went on for a while. And in fact, every household did not get one. In fact, very few got one. My condominium I lived in, I think we had, it was 2 per day, odd even, 2 per day, for about 40 to 50 people. And out of, I don't know, 200 or 300 condo units, most people had left, gone back to Korea, America, Australia, wherever they had been from. So this crisis, travel lockdowns pretty much shut down all the Airbnbs, all the hospitality industries. So anyway, the passes were not enough to go around. The security guys had, I think, 2 passes amongst them, and what they end up doing is writing the names of the people who lived there on the back of that we could use their passes as well. And I would tip the security guy, and nearly all the time, 99% of the time, he would have a pass available for me. So I tipped him fairly well. And so I could go about, didn't change my life too much. I had a pass, and I could go where I wanted to go. And we're crossing a river here, going from Mandaue City into Cebu City at the present time. You've got the Radisson Blu up here, that one building, and you've got SM Mall up here a bit. And then they did away with they had the checkpoints for a long time, but the checkpoints didn't really do much checking. They checked mostly motorbikes after hours, after curfew hours primarily. On a couple occasions they stopped the taxi. You had to flash the quarantine pass at them, but they didn't really look. You could flash anything, I think, at them. And now then we went for no more checkpoints. Went for a time, quite a long time. No more checkpoints, no more quarantine pass cards, and you could pretty much go about your business as long as you wore a mask and face shield. They required face shields for a long time, and I don't think, from what I've read, there's no good science backing up face shields either. Now, I remain open-minded, and I listen, try to follow the science. I've followed a lot of the scientific medical discussions. Takes up a lot of time over the last 22 months, and it's an evolving science. They're learning more and more about these viruses. The mandates have evolved. Like I said, it's not political for me. Some people say, well, don't get political. Well, I don't have any time for politics. I listen to the science, the medical side. It has turned into a religion for some people. It has divided families, divided friends. And I would just ask you all to be open-minded. And there is some new science, there's some new information that's come out. The narrative of the politicians and the media is falling apart very rapidly. I would ask you to be open-minded. I have been biting my tongue an awful lot on what I say on my videos because there is censorship out there, but there's some new information out. It's been out on some sites for a long time, but there's new information out that it will take a while to get into the mainstream media, but sooner or later, they're not going to be able to help it anymore. They're going to have to admit. Johns Hopkins University, which is very respected, big university, does a lot of medical type information in the USA, have come out recently. They've looked at over 20 studies, And basically they say all this stuff that we've done, all the masks, the social distancing, it's done very, very, very little in stopping the spread. And I've read that in 3 different sources this morning before I decided to mention it on my video. And it's out there now, and very highly respected university that looked at all these studies, and I've read about it over a year and a half ago, but it was one of those things that you're not allowed to say. The present day book burners, the censors who want to push their agenda were out there. So it was many of the doctors who were discussing these things, the scientists discussing other views were censored, continue to be censored. And as far as masks too, I think the CDC, the U.S. Centers for Disease Control, as well, I think the World Health Organization, WHO, have come out recently and stated too, these masks that we're all wearing, remember originally they told us, oh, masks don't work, you know, and there was a shortage of masks, so they wanted to save all the medical masks for the medical community. And then they said, oh, now, after a while, everybody started making masks. They said, oh, now everybody has to wear masks. Maybe you should wear 2 or 3 or, a dozen. And they were made out of all sorts of different types of material. And no one really knew if they did anything at all other than keep you from spitting on somebody. But the virus is smaller than smaller than the holes in these masks. And now they're saying, well, the mask probably did little or nothing to help prevent this, unless you're wearing a medical mask, a proper fitting medical mask at that. I was going into an office building here a week or 2 ago, as a matter of fact, and security said, oh, you're not wearing a proper mask, and they were going to require me to wear a medical mask. So even security guards here in the Philippines and companies starting to say, oh, your cloth mask made out of nylon or whatever it's made out of, woven something, cotton, whatever, is no longer, we now understand, almost 2 years later, we understand that mask is worthless. So anyway, presently adapting. They finally got rid of face shields here. I still see a few people wearing them. They're convinced that they're going to help them. And they're still pushing, as long as you got something on your face, pretty much, just go about your business. They've got the vaccination mandates now, so you're not supposed to be allowed into a mall without a vaccination card. They're coming up with some, they have a certification, but originally I tried to register a friend's vaccination card a month or so ago, and wouldn't allow me. The site said, this is for overseas Filipino workers only. And that was up until recently, and now they have a huge backlog of people trying to register there. So it'll probably take a month or 2 for them to catch up on that backlog. My prediction is, these countries, UK, Denmark, other countries are dropping their mandates. Other countries are opening up and talking, even in the Philippines. Politicians are talking about treating this as endemic, like the flu, and just dealing with it on a yearly basis. So chances are that the Philippines, within 1 or 2 months, will drop all this stuff, all this effort and money they're putting into all these vaccination cards and certificates and all this type of thing, and hurting the economy once again, because they're saying, well, 30% of you or 40, 50% of you people are no longer allowed to go into the mall. So taking that business away from those businesses. And within a couple of months, they're going to drop it all. They will. It's going to happen. It's going to happen. These lockdowns cannot continue. So as far as vaccines and other preventative measures, there are a number of countries and companies working on more effective, hopefully safer treatments for this evolving variants, and they will be coming out in the near future. So the boosters and the older vaccines at some point in time will no longer be approved. Probably that you will have to get something else if they continue. But my prediction is they're going to drop everything, treat it as endemic. They just deal with it. Protect the vulnerable. Who are the vulnerable? Obese, very heavy people, people with heart disease, people with diabetes, and the list goes on and on. There are the vulnerable group, very old people. One country, the average age from a quote-unquote COVID death was like over 82 years old, already past the normal life expectancy. So it's very age-related as well as health-related, both of those together. Anyway, I adapt. I've been shopping, will continue to shop permanently, less at the malls, who apparently don't want me at this point in time. So I have changed my shopping habits. I will do most of my shopping at markets, which are a great experience, dealing with more local people, much more relaxed on a personal level. There's lots of stuff you can get online anymore. Don't need to go to the malls. It really has been a nice change in my lifestyle as well. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'm going to introduce you to our two hobble drivers, and here we go.
No problem.
What's your name? Take your mask down.
My name is Tony.
What's your name?
It's Tony.
All right. I have a YouTube channel called Amazing Philippines.
Ah, you have a YouTube page.
So
I will subscribe to your channel.
Within 1 week, I will have the video up. Called Amazing Philippines.
You have to pay now.
Yeah, what's your name? You want to be on video? Huh? Take your helmet off. Take your mask down. What's your name?
Jan.
John. All right.